Models are calling for big weather pattern changes as we push towards the Christmas timeframe. This comes as the jet stream is expected to remain very active through the rest of December, allowing for lots of those shifts. This video is a full breakdown on all of those changes and who will see rain and snow this week, plus a look at the longer range pattern.
One Nation Weather.
Thank you so much for taking time out of the end of your weekend to tune into this video. If you are new to the channel, I'd love it if you'd subscribe down below after watching if you enjoy this kind of content. Also, everyone, a quick reminder to you to hit that like button down below to support this video in the algorithm. But here we go. We're taking a look at the atmospheric pattern as we push through the week ahead, because what happens in the atmosphere dictates what happens at the surface. We're using the European ensemble members and their averages. As we really push through the early to the mid part of this week, the general pattern looks the same from coast to coast across the U.S. You see these oranges and reds building in the west. You see them building in the central U.S. You see them in the east, and they indicate the jet stream being pushed northward. And this is what you call a ridge in the pattern. Warmer than average air as a result of this, and it's actually going to be an active setup for some in the central and eastern zones as this occurs too. Once you have active weather, eventually with time that does usher in changes, and that's what we're going to see by the time we push towards our pre-Christmas weekend, towards Friday, towards our Saturday and our Sunday up ahead. Look at what's expected by the end of this weekend into that weekend time frame. A big ridge continues building out west as we remain warm there, but the eastern U.S. is going to be allowed to see another one of what we've seen a lot of recently. This is a trough. Cool, dry air is typically associated with troughs, and that's what's at least anticipated coming out of the Midwest, the mid-Mississippi Valley, and then pushing all the way into zones in between into the East Coast. But could we even see some form of snowfall as this moves in, and maybe even beyond that point, especially the longer this lasts around, that could become a possibility. That's certainly something to watch as we push towards the early part of our Christmas week. I'll talk a little bit more about the pattern around Christmas Day. That is coming up later in the video, but for now, here's a different perspective up in the atmosphere of what's coming as we push into the week ahead with our actual jet stream itself. Notice there's your jet stream. Again, it's pushed fairly far north into the United States, and also notice it has some decent energy, allowing for that active weather pattern through the central and eastern U.S. Tuesday, Wednesday, and beyond. Here we go as we push towards the end of this week, though. That's when the jet stream becomes very dynamic. You see that big ridge where the jet stream is a little bit weaker and being pushed north into the western U.S. and then
there it comes.
Out of south central Canada and then down into the southeast U.S. Points northbound from the strong dip, especially right there, are going to see that most notable cool down coming out of Friday into Saturday and Sunday before any other changes can occur. And with that being said, I want to go ahead and give you a look at what is anticipated in terms of the future radar. Who sees rain and who sees snow as this pattern change is ushered in. It's going to be an active week really from the get-go. Here we go, pushing out of our Sunday night when I'm filming this into the morning of our Monday, December 16th of 2024, a new storm system already forming here in the central U.S. after one that's impacted some zones this weekend. From eastern Oklahoma pushing up into Arkansas, Missouri, southern Illinois, southern Indiana, and into western Kentucky. A chance for some showers and thunderstorms. Wouldn't even rule out an isolated severe thunderstorm as this event kicks off. The Storm Prediction Center has also hinted at that. But overall, it really just looks like a rainy week, and most of this activity will just be general thunderstorms as it kind of pushes east into the Ohio Valley, into the mid-south and southeast out of Monday night heading into Tuesday. This is just storm number one that I'm talking about in this video, because as that pushes with some rain through the interior northeast, we're going to see yet another one form behind it. It looks pretty similar in terms of its overall structure, with most spots getting rain. This is into our Wednesday afternoon from Texas to Arkansas, pushing through Tennessee, Kentucky, and into surrounding states, a decent chance of rain. And if we get just enough interaction with a little bit of the jet stream dip beginning up here into the Great Lakes Wednesday afternoon, could see a little bit of snow breakout, maybe Chicago, Illinois, up there into Fort Wayne, Indiana, and then into most of the Gulf of Michigan. If there's moisture, we could certainly at least briefly see a flash of snow out of this storm. Better chance of snow with it, though, is as we see a low form around coastal New England. Heavy rain along the coast and then stretching back down into the mid-Atlantic. And it looks like we would see a chance somewhere around Wednesday night heading into Thursday for some decent snowfall, but only up there into the interior northeast zones that have been seeing a lot of this recently. Interior New York, interior Vermont, New Hampshire, and then up there into central and northern Maine. Then as we go to the end of this week, that is when that big change is likely to make its way on in. It really just looks like what's going to usher it in is going to be a quick kind of stripe of snow that's going to dive down out of the Midwest, push through the Great Lakes, and then towards the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. Most of this precip that falls sometime out of Thursday night and Friday and then into Saturday as it makes its way through those zones will probably be snowfall, and especially as this makes its way here into the northeast U.S., we could see some decent snowfall totals to close out kind of this active weather pattern and allow that cooler, dry air to move in. There have been some model indications, and I'm sure you've seen some of the hype, that we could see maybe a low pressure form around the coast of New England as we push towards the end of this week and the upcoming weekend, allowing for a bigger snow. That is currently not forecasted to be the most likely scenario. It really just shows more dry air pushing in. This model does. The GFS does the same. I'll keep you updated though if you subscribe to the channel, and I'll let you know if changes do end up occurring to that outlook. One thing I can tell you for sure is that the total precipitation is going to be quite immense as we push through the week ahead. This is your total amount of precip, mostly rainfall, that many spots are going to see from Monday all the way to our Friday. Notice it really starts here with our heaviest rain totals of half an inch to an inch down in around the southeast Oklahoma, northeast Texas zone. Then as you push into Arkansas, an inch or two in many spots. Same goes into northern Mississippi and into Tennessee, Kentucky, pushing up into West Virginia and Pennsylvania, as well as New Jersey. That's going to be that best chance stripe for 1 to 3 inches of rainfall. In terms of the spot where I think flooding could be the most likely, it's going to be somewhere right in here where we see some of those isolated 2 to 4 to maybe even 5 inch totals that could fall. Good news with this though, these storms are coming in waves. It's not just all at once, and that's what's really going to help in decreasing our general flood threat across the entire week. In terms of snowfall through this week, let's push just through the midweek time frame. This is as we go through around our Thursday morning. First of all here, this is when we've gotten through our first 2 systems of the week, mostly just looking at snow for most spots just back here into the Pacific Northwest, Washington, Oregon into the Cascades, the mountains of Idaho, Montana, as well as northwest Wyoming, dealing with some of those heavier snow totals. But generally, most spots, unless you're up here in the far northern U.S., not really picking up on much snow. Notice these ensembles are not too gung-ho on what could happen Wednesday into Thursday with that light snow that could hit into the Midwest and Ohio Valley. So time will tell with that. Best chance for snow filling up most zones in terms of totals is going to be as we go out of Thursday into Friday and Saturday with that quick burst in the northern U.S. that's going to bring in our cool down. That makes its way out of the Dakotas through Minnesota, Wisconsin, into Michigan, and then the interior Northeast, where between round 1 and round 2 in the interior Northeast, we could get several inches of snow by the end of the week. But even back on up here into the Midwest, we could at least see some decent totals in the Dakotas, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan. 3 to 5 inches looking likely, at least for now. That could go up, that could go down. Again, I'll keep you posted on the exact numbers. But let's go ahead and talk temperatures now, because I want to go ahead and give you a look at the actual anomaly changes that are going to happen through this week. Again, through the early to the mid part of this week, warmer than average air as we see an active weather pattern for many zones. By the end of this week, though, we start to see cool air moving in. It starts as we go out of Thursday and Friday with that storm that's going to move off the East Coast Wednesday into Thursday. 5, 10, 15 degree below average temperatures trying to push in the wake of that storm. But a better chance of cooler than average air is going to come as we go to Friday into Saturday and Sunday with that huge jet stream dip. And I don't want to, focus on this too much, but the models are continuing to go gung-ho on how cold this could be. As you make your way out of here and through the North Central Plains and Great Lakes into the Northeast, we can maybe even see temperatures downwards of 20 to 30 degrees below average. That is some insanely cold air, especially for December, because averages are already around the freezing mark or below for many times of the day in these zones. So I'd definitely be ready for some very concerning cold by the time we push to our pre-Christmas weekend in those zones. And just to give you a look at how cold it is actually anticipated to be, let's go ahead and give you a look at the changes forecasted with our exact temperature numbers through the week ahead. Starting off here just in the near term, our Monday, December 16th of 2024, notice all of that warmer than average air making that push to the north. We've got 50s, we've got 60s making their way as far north with our first system of the week as up here into Illinois, Indiana, as well as Ohio. As we push out of our Monday and into our Tuesday, we're going to see kind of that warmer than average air continuing, especially as we push further south. Look at this chain of 70s into our Tuesday, December 17th in the morning. From Texas to Louisiana to Mississippi, even into Alabama, Georgia, and the Carolinas, most of each of these states in the 70s. Even as you push up there into North Georgia, it is at least going to be in the mid to upper 60s on our Tuesday afternoon. We've got cool air lurking up here in the North Central Plains, though, and get ready for that to come down, especially as we move out of Wednesday and into Thursday. Here we go. By Wednesday, that's when we begin to see that low forming somewhere here around the Midwest, set to move towards the Northeast out of Wednesday into Thursday. Cool air waiting to come in behind it with some teens maybe back on up there for max high temperatures on our Wednesday afternoon into the upper Midwest. That's in contrast with 60s and 70s continuing in the Southeast. By the time we go to Wednesday into Thursday, that's when we start to see that cooler pattern really settling in. A lot less 60s and 70s, a lot more 50s for most spots that have been warm all week. And now we've got 20s and 30s diving down with the jet stream into the Great Lakes. And then at the grand finale of this event really begins bringing in that real cool air out of Friday and into Saturday. Let's go ahead and skip ahead to Saturday. This is the furthest the National Digital Forecast Database goes, but expected to get even colder out of Saturday and into Sunday with our high temperatures, and I'll break down the highs and lows probably more for this in my next video. But look at this, north of this line right here looking like freezing high temperatures or below for many spots on our Saturday afternoon, and it could even be more like 15-ish in a lot of these zones of the far interior northeast, and then as you push even maybe a bit below that into parts of the Great Lakes and upper Midwest. So be ready for that deep cold by the time we go towards the end of this week. With the cold discussion in mind, I do want to give you a preview of what could happen beyond the cool down, or if it's going to stick around as we push towards the midweek point in our Christmas week, including Christmas Day itself. Here we go. This is our early part, first of all, of that week. This is our Monday, December 23rd of 2024. The averages of our European ensemble members showing a general trough continuing at least for the far eastern U.S. at this point. Meanwhile, high pressure and general ridging beginning to expand more coming out of the west and even moving towards the plains. That could mean warmer than average air fills up these zones and intensifies by Christmas, and that's exactly what they're showing. I don't care what hype you see about a white Christmas or a crazy snow event on Christmas Day. When you've got model guidance showing high pressure building up like this into southern Canada, and that would likely allow for a south to north flow like this across the country in a general sense, I think the confidence is higher that it's generally a little bit warmer than average temperature-wise for most areas, with at least rain if there's precipitation than there is snow. So right now, I don't want anybody to get their hopes up, especially when you've got a longer range guidance showing a big warm-up like this on the table. Let me give you a look at what the European model, just really for fun at this point in time, is showing as we push towards Christmas Day in terms of the weather forecast. Here we go through the early part of that Christmas week. Cool down beginning to push out of the east. For some reason, the European model tries to bring a little quick snow just before Christmas Day or maybe even into Christmas Day to parts of the Ohio Valley and the southeast U.S. It has the cool down lingering around in the east long enough for that to happen. I wouldn't trust that, especially with the average that it has with its other ensembles and showing that warmer than average air making the return. I mean, there it is. You can really see right as we go beyond Christmas, what most models are showing happening faster happens by the 26 on the Euro model. Warmer than average air with even whatever's falling. Look at that, as far north as Minnesota with the ridge falling as rain around that time frame. I think the very end of December could be a much warmer pattern, and we could even see rain with whatever systems form as far north as the Canadian border up there in the upper peninsula of Michigan with this kind of setup. So don't trust the white Christmas just yet. I'll keep you updated on if that could happen, though, as we get closer. For now, it is just time to briefly break down and recap those headlines that I just covered in the last 12 minutes, though. First of all, of course, active weather is anticipated for most zones of the U.S. from the central to the eastern half of the country as we make our way through this week. This is going to be ahead of the big cool down that's likely to come in as we go towards Thursday, Friday, and then especially heading into the pre-Christmas weekend. Despite the cool down coming in, no crazy snows are currently forecasted to help in bringing that in or, occur while that cool air is in place. I'm watching Christmas closely for changes, but it looks warm for now. I'll keep you posted on everything with the pattern ahead, of course, and I wouldn't be doing it if it weren't for the awesome weather model maps that I get from Weatherbell. Check out their free trial link below to access these same model maps for yourself. That link is in the description. Also, I'm on the way to 7,000 subscribers, and then 8,000, 9,000, 10,000, etc. I'd love it if you'd be one of them and hit that button down below. I'll catch you in the next update video in one of the next few days.
One Nation weather.